Welcome back. There are concerns over the ever-rising levels of alcohol consumption in the country, as South Africans spend over 400 million rand on alcohol each day during the festive season. The Social Development Department says it expects the numbers to rise as the year draws to a close. For more on the extent of the problem, I'm now joined by Andrew Fulton, a director at 8020 Consulting, an organization that is doing surveys on drinking trends. Thank you so much, Andrew. A very Merry Christmas to you, and thank you for joining us this evening. So, South Africans are expected to spend an average of 414 million rand daily on alcohol during this festive season. What do you think are the factors that are driving the surge in spending?
Yeah, thanks for having us on the show, and Merry Christmas to all your viewers that celebrate. So yeah, it's actually more than 414 million per day during the Christmas season. I mean, according to the South African Social Development Deputy Minister last year, said that about 7.7 billion is drunk between Christmas and New Year's. So we wanted to unpack that figure and just get an idea about it. And our friends at Trade Intelligence helped us with a figure that 150 billion is spent per year on alcohol, both in trade and off trade. And that works out to about 414 billion per day, but it's almost twice that over the festive season between Christmas and New Year's. And the reasons are obvious. I mean, certainly in South Africa, it's warm. People are outside. They're celebrating Christmas, or they're celebrating having a bit of a break at the end of a tough year, and alcohol plays a central role in those gatherings. So that's really the reason why that happens.
And I mean, you're speaking of 800 million now per day, especially that it's the festive season. I mean, this spike comparing to other periods within the year is quite concerning. Is this comparative to other countries during this time of the year? Are other countries spending just as much?
Yeah, I mean, there's various sources you can get for understanding alcohol consumption across the world. The world average consumption is about 5.5 liters per year. South Africa is above that global mean at about 7.8 liters. So fairly high, but below some European countries like Romania, Czechia, and other countries that drink more than us. But certainly, 7 out of the top 10 drinking countries are in Africa. So it's certainly South Africa is well up there in terms of alcohol consumption per capita.
And do you think this level of excessive consumption and spending on alcohol opens up to other avenues when it comes to the illicit trade of counterfeit alcohol in the country?
We haven't actually looked into that, but certainly, with the prices, we've had record inflation since COVID. It's under control now, but certainly with prices rising dramatically, I imagine people would be looking to cheaper alternatives to get alcohol, and would be looking at the illicit trade. I mean, certainly we've noticed that with our work that we've done in cigarettes. The tobacco industry, the illicit consumption is absolutely massive. I think it's one of the biggest in the world.
Sure. I mean, you're saying South Africa's average annual alcohol consumption is notably high at 7.8 liters per person. What do you think contributes to this high level of consumption amongst South Africans?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'd be worried about kind of guessing at any reasons for that. I mean, we certainly do consume a lot of alcohol. It's readily available. It's relatively cheap. There are a number of factors, but I'd be worried to kind of look at any sort of psychological or any other issues around why we drink a lot of alcohol.
And I mean, the insights show that the younger generations are some of the biggest contributors to the consumption, particularly Generation Y and Generation X. Is this because of access, perhaps?
Yeah, so what we've noticed in terms of, if you look at the demographic skews, alcohol is certainly in urban consumption patterns. 70 to 80% of people in urban areas consume alcohol. It's a male-dominated industry. 60% of people consuming alcohol are male. And as you mentioned, it is the younger. It's over-indexed for young people compared to baby boomers. So there's per capita and on average, there's more younger people drinking than older people. It could just be they're going out, they're still in their socializing period of time. We have also noticed some interesting trends in South Africa moving to more healthier consumption in terms of caffeine, in terms of chocolate, in terms of red meat. So it could be that just older people are abstaining more to be a little bit more healthy. They've had their younger days when they drank a lot, and now they'd like to abstain a bit. One of the interesting things in that is we've noticed a significant rise in the non-alcoholic market.
Yeah.
There's 1 million people who said they consumed non-alcoholic beer, cider, or gin in the past 7 days, and that's just rising every year. So people are augmenting their drinking with non-alcoholic options. But the interesting fact there is only 5% of people who drink non-alcoholic beer abstain completely. It's a small percentage of people who are abstaining but still drink non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah, and I really wanted us to expand on that as to why there's more of a preference of going for the non-alcoholic beverages as opposed to just abstaining. Does this speak to the culture in terms of how we want to be seen when we consume what we are consuming as South Africans?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple things. I mean, one might be a little bit of peer pressure that, everyone else is drinking, you should be drinking too. So when you're drinking a non-alcoholic beverage, it's maybe less obvious to people. I've spoken to other people who are saying they'll alternate. So they'll have an alcoholic beer and then a non-alcoholic beer, and just kind of, help themselves in terms of maybe staying a bit more sober. I think, certainly over the festive season, we notice there's a lot more roadblocks on the road. So it keeps you safer in terms of driving and getting into legal issues. But yeah, and then it's also healthier. I've also noticed that the taste is certainly it's not just removing alcohol from beer; it's actually adding to the flavor and making it an enjoyable drink in and of itself instead of just a non-alcoholic option.
And speaking about those preferences, I mean, how are the preferences shifting from different demographics, especially when it comes to the rise of wine, ciders, and spirits among the urban and some of those internet-enabled consumers?
Yeah, so what we noticed, we were helped out with some GWI data from Technologies, and what they find in their research, research is limited to people who have internet access, so that's why we say internet enabled. And they said in terms of festive drinking, wine is obviously tops for South Africans. I mean, we're the 7th largest wine producing country in the world. It's a huge part of our culture, followed by cider. And then spirits. That seems to be the kind of festive drinking options, which is interesting because beer is certainly a huge category with about 70% of beer consumers men, and it's the number one category in terms of alcohol consumption overall in South Africa.
And this then must be a very lucrative business for retail companies.
Absolutely. I mean, 150 billion rand a year. It's twice as big as the gambling industry. It's one of the bigger industries in South Africa. And what we do with 80/20, we're a data consulting company. We help companies look at how they can use this data in order to make more money, find growth, and deliver to their customers. And certainly, it is a very lucrative industry.
And should we be concerned overall with this kind of consumption, and not just the consumption, but the amounts of money that's being directed to alcohol as opposed to maybe other ways of recreation that we could find in the country?
Yeah, I mean, we come across that a lot. I mean, we did something last month on gambling, and it's a similar thing. Do you look at gambling as a choice that an adult makes to entertain themselves and maybe come up with a little bit of income or a little bit of enjoyment, or do you look at it as something that's quite damaging to society? And I think it's a continuum. So one would hope that people are drinking responsibly. I mean, I certainly enjoy having a glass of wine with my friends and family over Christmas and celebrating. It kind of goes hand in hand with celebration for people that do drink. So yeah, I think the important thing is to make sure that we're behaving responsibly, and making sure that we're paying for the other things we need to pay for in our lives, such as clothing, food, school uniforms, etc.
Most certainly. Andrew, very interesting insights with regards to the level of consumption of alcohol in the country. But a very Merry Christmas to you, and thank you so much for sharing this with us and joining us this evening. All right, so that was Andrew Fulton, the director at 80/20 Consulting, speaking to us about those alcohol trends in which he is saying over 800 million rands are spent during the festive season in South Africa daily.